Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer and I'm here today to talk about the new moon in Aquarius that's happening on January 29th. A new moon is where the sun and the moon come together in a conjunction to create something new in the darkest phase of the moon. We experience this every month. We're pretty used to it. And at the same time, I don't know if we always understand the power of a new moon because the new moon is based on emotional faith. So, whatever we intend, it's so important to be able to check into our vibration, into our frequency. What is the deeper truth that we are intending and feeling when we are expressing what we want to create? When we have no eyesight, no physical senses to support that creation. And this is what I think is the ultimate Aquarian energy, because Aquarius is futuristic, experimental. It looks at what is and then creates what can be. It's a sign that really thinks about the collective as a whole, what benefits most for the collective. It's willing to stand up for what it believes in and to rebel against that which is repressive. It's also the sign that rules large systems like the World Wide Web, like our nervous system. And for Aquarius people or people that have a strong Aquarian energy, your nervous system is literally your soul letting you know when it starts to feel ramped up and anxious that you may not be following your true north. And I think this is what the benefit of planting this new moon, the seeds in this new moon for faith in the future. Let's pull up the chart. Okay, so this new moon is happening at 4:35 a.m. Pacific time. If you're not in the Pacific, you might want to adjust for your location. I think that it's pretty powerful because we see kind of quiet energy here. Sometimes we'll see the planets with tons of red lines. Here we're just seeing really one square between Chiron and Mars during this new moon. This is the background symphony that's playing. I'm going to get to the intention of the new moon because this is about my intuitiveness and my taking action. Mars in Cancer is in fall, and it is tasked to being aware of the emotions. And what are we planting? We're planting in the faith of our emotions. And when I look at this and I click on the sun, it is supported by Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini, and yet Jupiter in Gemini is being tasked with thinking about how the everyday human rolls, what they do, how they spend their time, how they spend their speech, their thought. And I think that this trine is supporting a new beginning of thought, a new beginning of expansion. This is at the Sagittarian degree, the 9th degree. It's also the first time that the soul experiences the Sagittarian degree within this Aquarian energy. So it's like the expansiveness of Aquarius, looking to the future, what can be, experimenting with the potentials. Aquarius rules the genius. It rules lightning. It rules electricity and things associated with electricity, like ideas and inventions. And here, what we see in the trine to Jupiter is an opportunity to take advantage of this expansion, but with a willingness to plant the faith in my belief that the information, the details, the processes that will be necessary to implement this new future will be drawn to me. We see that this new moon is considered in conjunction with Mercury and Pluto. Pluto is the great psychologist, the Freud of the zodiac. So here what we're seeing is the Freud of the zodiac examining the everyday thoughts that Mercury represents. Mercury rules Gemini. And while I don't believe that these two planets are really in any kind of strong trine with Jupiter, the new moon is. So I'm planting the seeds for my expansion, for more money coming to me, for more wealth of not just material resources, but of community, of friends, of information, of whatever I might need to succeed and to feel expansive within my everyday activities. And that's the Gemini energy of Jupiter in Gemini. Now, when we look at this conjunction with Pluto and Mercury, this is not about a destruction of the old, but a capitalization on the previous experiences, on what Mercury is going to have this conversation with Pluto, and then it's going to move very quickly through the rest of Aquarius and meet up in Aries with Venus as they both retrograde and then come back into this Piscean energy. And I think that this is important because we are starting to have this awareness that my thoughts are things, and that sometimes I'm focused on more of what is destructive or has power and control over me versus where I have faith and a sense of expansiveness. We see by this half square to the new moon to Venus that while Venus is exalted in Pisces, she is not necessarily clear on how she's going to execute what's happening with this new moon, because she has to connect to the divinity within her, her creative talents, her deepest dreams, her soul's yearnings, and her soul's talents. So I think for the most part, while this particular aspect feels a little bit like things I can't see, that just plays back to the idea of I'm not supposed to see with my eyes, hear with my ears, smell with my nose, taste with my tongue, or touch with my hands. This is my soul moving me into the 2.0 version of me, and me planting the seeds for that expansive energy while I have an opportunity to be aware of my thoughts and that my thoughts are things. The 11th degree, to me, while it's the Aquarian degree, it is also the master number of thought. Jupiter is stationing to move direct on February, I believe it's 3rd or 4th, depending upon where you are in the world. And that to me is further evidence that as Jupiter stations in the sky, it is giving me an opportunity to really think about things, about how I demonstrate my faith, how I set my intentions, how do I nurture my dreams and my hopes and take myself into the future versus pulling myself back into my old story. The Pluto energy very much is relentless in wanting to remove the toxicity. And oftentimes, what the human doesn't realize is much of the toxicity that happens in their outer world starts with the toxicity in their inner world and the musings and machinations of that toxicity, or those dark experiences, or those experiences where we feel powerless. So it is a pretty powerful new moon. I think that the new moon is also being supported by the trine to the south node and the south node's trine to Uranus. Uranus is stationed at 23 degrees. This is again the Aquarian degree. It will stay in the Aquarian degree, moving direct on the 30th or the 31st, or maybe the 29th, depending upon where you are in the world. And then it will stay direct at 23 degrees as it ramps up to move forward until March 12th, 2025. So this is very supportive energy for a new beginning of unleashing myself from any mental energies that have tethered me or enslaved me too much worrying, too much processing, too much being attached to what I can see in the material world. The nodes just happen to be at the 28th degree, which also reduces down to a 10, which is a 1. That's echoing back to the 11 here that Jupiter is at, the 11th degree, and the 1st degree here of Pluto. So this being willing to really look at the thoughts that I repeat over and over again, both mentally and verbally, are being supported as I become aware of them. And then I gently and without criticism, without regret, allow myself the privilege of feeling the North Node's conjunction with Neptune, bringing a spiritual dynamic into where I have been and allowing me the privilege of Venus's energy to come together and to rewrite through my creative endeavors. And that creativity is directly related to how you implement this new moon, what type of joy and pleasure that you derive. Creative endeavors, for the most part, should be enjoyable. There's always a little bit of a hiccup when you're birthing them into the physical world for other people's opinions, but when we're doing them for ourselves, they can be a great form of meditation and connection with our inner voice. So that's it for how I interpret the new moon in Aquarius, as an opportunity to set the intentions for my future, for my hopes and my dreams, without criticism, without awareness of how it will work out in the physical world, but rather knowing that my thoughts and my emotional body, how much joy and excitement I feel about my future versus worry and trepidation, is setting the tone for my manifestation. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video. I'm not very good with the marketing ideas, but on the new moon on Wednesday, the 29th, here in the Pacific time zone between 3 and 5 p.m., I will be doing live readings based on your questions. So you can come into the live, put your question in the chat, and we will take them sequentially. And those that donate and contribute material resources, known as money, tips, fan chats, whatever they call them, will go to the top of the line. All right, everybody, enjoy the new moon in Aquarius, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.